In this small series, I'm going to show you how to make your own VR shooting range within Horizon Worlds. Stick around. Hi guys, my name is Tony and welcome back to jackaldudegaming. Here, I like to have fun in VR, but I love helping you have fun there too. Now, it's no secret that Meta/Facebook is trying to make the metaverse and plant their flag in it. One of the ways they're trying to do this is through their own game Horizon Worlds, previously called Facebook Horizons. Now, despite how you may or may not feel about that, I believe it's important for us VR enthusiasts and early adopters to understand how they'd like us to be a part of their metaverse. So I'm going to show you how to make a small shooting range in your own world within Horizon Worlds. In this first episode, I'm going to attempt to show you how to build objects into some sort of a blaster that we can shoot in our shooting range. So let's get started. Also, real quick point of order, if you don't already have Horizon Worlds, it's because it's on a beta invite access only. If you haven't already been invited, I'll have a link in the description below where you can sign up to hopefully get invited to the beta. Okay, now once we're in our personal space here, you can see that we have all sorts of options. So let's go to create, and then we're going to see all of these worlds that we can creatively mess around with. The intro to creation, I highly recommend you do that one because that's going to give you some of the basics of moving around and moving shapes around within the world and getting in and out of edit mode. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but if you're having struggle with any of that stuff, I highly recommend you do this intro to creation. But let's move on and let's make our own world. You make your own world, you can see you kind of have a different variety of ones to start with. If you're planning on making a big world, completely your own, I would recommend starting with the blank world because some of the assets and shapes that are already in here will take up some of the space available to you. But let's start with the blank world. Well, here we are in our very own blank world. As you see, there's nothing here except for this basic floor, so we don't just continuously keep falling. We can use this floor, or we can make a new floor. For now, we're just going to use the floor. This is preview mode. This is me just jumping and running. This is how most people will interact with your world once you've published it, unless you invite them as a collaborator. But you can see on our right hand here, we have a little thing to bring us into build mode. So we're going to take our joystick, and we're just going to point it down. Blam. And now you see we're giant, and we're in build mode. We have all these other options on our hands. Another thing you'll see is that there is here a spawn point, and you can move the spawn point. You can create new spawn points. But I like having a spawn point around, especially when I'm creating things that you'll hold or things that you'll wear or attach to yourself, because this spawn point kind of acts like a mannequin, so you can scale things properly. Some real quick controls. If you hold the grip buttons on both of your controllers and you push towards each other or farther apart, you can shrink yourself and grow yourself. Depending on what the size are the size of the things you're working on, this will really help you really kind of get into the details of it depending on your size. So now we're going to get into building something. Let's make ourselves kind of small because we want to build this thing. Now you'll see the Oculus button on your left hand. You can see it here. You can't click it here. You have to click it on your actual controller. It'll bring you up this menu. Right now, by default, it's going to shapes. That's perfect because that's where we're going to start. Now, we're going to take these shapes. We're going to be able to move them, scale them different ways, and then using multiple shapes and scaling them in different ways, we'll be able to build some sort of a blaster. I'm going to go for extra credit here, and I'm going to try to make the DL-44, Han Solo's blaster. But let's see how well that'll work out. So we start with a cube. So you would then take the trigger, pull it out, and now you have this cube to play with while you're holding the trigger. Letting go of the trigger kind of puts it in place. And you see you have all of these options. When you hover over them, you can bring this out, bring it in. If you go even farther, you can take this part out to move the whole thing in a very specific direction. And you could take this arrow and rotate it from a specific size. Now this is all free formed. If you want it to snap into very particular angles or spots within the world, on your left hand you see you have all of these options. You have this magnet tool called snap. If you bring your joystick down, you've turned snap on, you've toggled it on, and now when I move it, you kind of see all of these points in the world. I can grab it by certain points and it'll snap to certain points in the world instead of just free forming. By default, if it's not, like if you want it to be right here and it keeps snapping to farther than that, you can acutely change the grid, the snap angle in the settings menu under build. So if you're using the snap feature and you're not getting exactly what you want, mess around with these settings to see if you can get something a little more acute and accurate. So we are going to start building a rifle, or building a blaster pistol, hopefully the DL44 or something that looks like it. For now, we're going to start with kind of the base of it, and I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. That's it. I'm just going to pull that out. Maybe we'll bring this in a little bit. Let's bring it in a little bit more. Let's use the duplicate tool. If in your right hand, if you just rest your thumbs on top of the trigger, it'll actually pop up with these labels. So take them off, put them back on, just so you know exactly what you're doing. If we hand over to the duplicate, you see our little selector here is turned green. That means whatever you grab with the trigger button is going to be duplicated. So if I take this, hold the trigger button, and then pull down, I actually have an exact duplicate of that shape, which can save you a lot of time if you're making pillars or walls or whatever. You don't have to make each of them individually. You just finish one and use the duplicate tool. Now, I don't want this to be exactly the same, but I wanted it to be the same width. So another way you can snap things together, I'm going to grab this point here, and I want to snap it to a point on the first block. And you see when you grab a point and you snap it to another point, it turns green, confirming that it is snapped to that point. So I'm going to leave that there. I don't want it to look like this, so I'm actually going to change the shape of the lower block. There we go. Something like this. Not so long. Blam. Something like that. That's fine. Let's make the top one a little bit shorter too. Yeah, I like that. Cool. So this is so far going to be like the main part of the gun. I swear it's going to look more like it in a second. How about we actually just go ahead and make the part of the barrel. So let's take the tube. Whoa, that's a little big. But we can snap it to the angle now. So now this is good. It's a little too big. So what we're going to do is put both of our selectors inside of it. Pressing both the index triggers down, we can now bring it, just like we size ourselves, we can size objects by selecting with both triggers and pulling in and out. So we'll do something very close to the size of the gun we're in now. I think that looks fine. Let's grab a snap point, that one, and see if we can snap it on. Yeah, that's cool. So if this is another good tip, if you have a lot of objects right here, try to just grab the one you want and then just select it. Now you see it's like framed in blue. That means right now, whatever you'll do, you'll only affect this object. So I'm going to grab its little thing and yeah, I just want to make that much longer. I think that's perfect. And now to deselect it, you just hit the index button anywhere else and you've deselected it. And now we can go through all of these objects and select them again. Another great thing we can learn real quick is if we want to move a group of objects. So like this is kind of a group. We haven't grouped anything together yet to make an official whole individual object. But if we just want to move like these 3 pieces, take your index finger and hold it. Now you see we kind of have this new menu and a little trail on your selector. You can even hit the plus and make your selector bigger. So then we'll just drag that, blam, and blam. We've seen it selected those 3 items. So now if we move these 3 items, it'll all move together. I think I just want to move it a little bit closer. Aha, I like that. I think I like that's good. Now it's not quite on it yet, but we can fix that because there are like some brackets that hold it in place, I believe. So Alright, so here's some semblance of the DL44. I think I'm done with this in terms of design, but you can get really crazy with this design. You could keep going with buildings and structures, and you can size this however you'd like. So we're going to stop it there to make sure this video isn't longer than it already is, but in the next video we're going to learn a bunch of stuff, like how to paint our parts using different colors and textures, how to group those parts together to make unique individual grouped objects, and we're going to learn how to apply physics to that object and how to make that object interactable and grabbable using grab anchors. If you feel like you want to learn any of that stuff, be sure to sub to the channel and click the bell notification to know exactly when that video drops. Now, I did fast forward through a lot of the tedious parts of building this blaster, but if you want to build that blaster the exact same way I did, let me know in the comments below and I'll release a video of me building it in real time. Also, if you have any questions about what we went over in this video, let me know in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. I am still not an expert in building within Horizon Worlds, but I am learning every day and I want to try to share that with you. So with that being said and out of the way, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.